Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm going to talk today about C-class properties, why they're a good investment, um, and what you need to know if you're starting out in multifamily or you want to do house hacking, buy a triplex, something like that. Um, what you need to know. There's a lot of things that you should know. First of all, your criteria when looking for multi-unit properties, right? The first thing that you want to know is unit mix, right? Studios are something that you should look to avoid. In Arizona, we have a lot of properties that have swamp coolers. Okay, a swamp cooler is like an old-fashioned pre-AC type of thing, if you don't know what they are. Um, Ideally, you should understand that if a property has a swamp cooler, it's going to be an expense to change it. But the thing that you should know for C-class properties, if the neighborhood is decent, if there's a lot of transition, if it's not a war zone, right, then that is a good place to buy property. And the reason is because if you're in a growing market, which means that things are growing, things are changing, there's a lot of flips going on, there's a lot of change in the neighborhood. Well, obviously, you're going in the right direction, right? So a lot of people who are getting started in real estate, um, what's the first rule of real estate that everybody hears, right? It's location, location, location. However, in Phoenix, for example, where there's been so much change, so much gentrification, so many things changing, right? It's hard to know what a neighborhood's going to be like in 5 years or 10 years, let alone a year or two from now. So that presents an opportunity, it presents challenges, and it also presents opportunities. And yes, there are designated opportunity zones which have tax incentives, but the thing that you want to look for is, kind of an up and coming area or transitional area. So a C-class property can be a great investment if there's been enough change or if there are solvable issues that you can have an impact or influence over. Um, for example, in Phoenix, there are great programs with the city. If there are certain types of problems in the neighborhood that you can use to help improve the neighborhood. But why C-class property is a great investment is typically the returns are higher, the entry fee is lower, and you have the ability to convert or upgrade as the change in the neighborhood goes around. As that change occurs and it starts like percolating throughout the neighborhood, you can improve the value of the property. And depending on how much you renovate it, how much you actually change it and improve it, you can kind of take it from a C-class to B minus, depending on what's happening in the area, right? So, but here's the thing, is that there's always going to be a need for affordable housing. So while you can make a lot more money on luxury properties, there's greater appreciation, there's pros and cons to both, right? But if you're just starting out as an investor or you're looking for a way to get involved in real estate investing, house hacking, C-class properties, duplex, triplex, that sort of thing, it's a great way to get involved. But you have to understand there's a lot of work that goes into owning and maintaining property. So not just from a maintenance aspect, but from you're providing a service essentially as a landlord, providing a service to renters, you're providing a service to the community in a sense, and it's important that you maintain your properties. So C-class can be a great investment because the rising rents typically you can raise the rents. There's demand, but your location is important. So I'm going to stress this. This is C-class property in transitional areas. not in a war zone, right? When you start getting into like C-class properties in a questionable area, or, you know, D-class, which isn't even really a thing, but that's, just stay away from that. I mean, stay away from the war zone, stay away from anything where that's not an opportunity, right? That is a perpetual issue. But there are certain neighborhoods that are transitional, that are changing, and where you can find C-class property. You typically want the worst property in the best neighborhood, right? So that's how you start to look for that. And then understand that when you're buying property, it makes logical sense, right? If you have one debt note, you have 3 units, or you have 4 units, or even just 2 units, you have more leverage over ensuring that debt is paid. So it's just a smarter way to buy and manage property. Owning your own home is a liability. Owning property is a liability unless it pays you. So sticking with that, understanding there are a lot of opportunities in C-class properties or in multifamily, residential multifamily. Obviously, commercial multifamily, getting into that, that's a different ballgame. I'm not going to talk about that. But there's significant opportunity when, you know, rents are rising, the property values are rising, and there's a lot of gentrification going on in these neighborhoods. So things you need to look for, be aware of when you're shopping for property of this kind. Understanding the neighborhood, understanding what are the problems in the neighborhood, right? If you have, you know, a lot of times you'll see encampments or foot traffic or things that you don't necessarily wouldn't want to deal with, right? So those are signs that you have to really understand what's happening in the neighborhood. You have to understand what are the construction projects, what are the things going on around that property that are going to improve it, that are going to improve the situation for that asset. And if you don't know of any, or you can't quantify any, then it might not be a good investment. So those are the things you have to look at. And anyways, I just wanted to jump on, put some content out, discuss the real estate situation. I mean, now we're starting to see rates come down. It's going to be an interesting year. There's not a lot of property, especially in this class of assets, residential multifamily. I say that and people get confused. Yes, there is such a thing as residential multifamily and commercial multifamily. Residential multifamily is 2 to 4 units. Commercial multifamily is 5 to unlimited number of units, right? So that's something that you should understand. Now, when you're shopping, looking at what is the ideal mix, ideal unit mix is 2-bedroom, 1-bath units. Those are ideal, right? 1-bedroom, 1-bath are a little bit tougher to rent. Studios are very tough to keep rented. So those are things that you should understand when you're looking for this type of asset. So good luck hunting if you guys are out there looking for your next investment. If you are looking to buy retail, leave a comment or send me a message. I'd love to help you out. Or if you just need some general guidance in the real estate market in Arizona, I'd love to help.